Hello, friends. We'll start soon this session. I'm waiting for my co-host, Ragini, to join in. Good evening, Jitesh. So, how was your Sunday, friends? Was there any homeopathy in your Sunday today? I keep a leave on Sunday. It has been a long time I have not been seeing patients on Sunday. Is it any better, Homeo Mitra? Fever Sundays nowadays, a lot of fever patients. Yes, okay. There will be some static because the room I'm in right now, the AC has malfunctioned and the fan does make some static noise. So let's bear that. All right, I see Ragini has joined too. Hi, Ragini.
Hello, sir. Very good evening.
Hi, Ragini. Very good evening to you too.
It's like I want to welcome you, but somehow I have
Not,
to join. It's okay.
not an issue.
Yes. So let me
Ultimately,
just
we are
take
live
this
on both the
moment.
channels.
Yes, definitely.
That
So
is,
let me just
yes.
take this moment to invite you. So to all the Insta family who's watching this, today we have with us Dr. Manish Bhatia, sir. And I've been waiting for this live since a very long time. And I'm really nervous also because I've seen you interviewing a lot of doctors. And this is the first time I'm taking your interview. I'm little nervous also, but still. Sir is an MD homeopath, is an internationally renowned homeopath with 20 years of clinical experience. And Sir is also known to treat difficult cases, most of the psychiatric cases and the cancer cases as well. And Dr. Manish Bhatia, sir, is the founder and director of hpathy.com, which is world's leading homeopath homeopathic portal. And sir is a well-known speaker, teacher, and he works as an associate professor of organ of medicine and homeopathic philosophy. A very warm welcome, sir, in our What's Your Mantra Insta Live.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's my
And I'll
pleasure,
direct
Rajni, to be here.
Thank you, sir. And I'll directly jump into the questions because I know you don't like these kind of introduction. So I'll keep it
Yes, I do.
short and simple. So nowadays, as a topic is, the diseases during monsoon. So what are the cases and most common monsoon diseases you are seeing these days?
The most common monsoon diseases, I believe the most common monsoon diseases we see are fevers, acutes.
Yeah.
So that is definitely what we are also seeing most in our clinics. There are, of course, some chronic issues that aggravate during the monsoons, like joint problems, they aggravate, asthma aggravates, some skin diseases also aggravate. But yes, I believe that is it. But since most of our practices are based around chronic cases, uh, we don't see a lot of up and down in, say, the volume of patients. Because if we are treating inveterate cases, psychiatric cases, autism cases, cancer cases, uh, then you don't see a lot of ups and downs in your seasonal ups and
Hmm.
downs in your practice. We do see acutes also, but
Yeah.
in general, this is what we see in our existing patients a lot.
Okay. As you said, fevers and monsoon is a boon for several types of fevers. How you approach on that and how one should approach in certain cases, like the monsoon fevers and all.
Now, Ragini, I'll put some salt here.
Yeah.
And why I initially you had sent me second time you had sent me a long set of questions related to monsoon diseases and monsoon remedies. And the reason I find it very uncomfortable to practice on those lines is, I'll give you an example. Which remedies come to your mind? Say one, two, three when you think of monsoon remedies. Mention them.
Like Dalkamara, Restox, like
Okay,
these kind of a remedies. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
mentioned two remedies, Rustox and
Hmm.
Dalkamara.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Rustox is the remedy for the rainy weather,
Hmm.
usually, and Dalkamara is also prescribed very, very commonly
Yeah.
for most of the acutes. Do you know if you read Hahnemann's proving of Rustox in Materia medica pura, the word rain, wet, bath, river, storm, they do not appear even once. Not even once.
Okay.
No prover recorded any symptom. When I say any symptom, not even one symptom which was worse by bathing, worse by rain, worse by wet weather, worse by humid weather, worse in stormy weather, nothing. Zero. So now you have to, there are some symptoms related to the cold weather, not even cloudy weather.
Hmm.
Lustox is also very commonly used for complaints in cloudy weather. Not even once are these words mentioned in the proving. There is no symptom that has shown any aggravation during rainy weather by getting wet, by getting drenched in wet, in rain, by in cloudy weather, in by river bathing. Nothing of that sort is mentioned in any proving of Rustox. The symptoms related to cold that are mentioned are uh, there is violent rheumatic pain between the scapula, neither relieved nor aggravated by movement or by rest, only alleviated by warmth but increased by cold. We know that there is amelioration by warmth in Rustox, that is
Hmm.
mentioned. Another symptom is he is very sensitive to cold open air and the skin is as very painful, though there is no dislike to cold air. The third symptom that is mentioned is in the cold air when walking, he cannot get warm enough, though well wrapped up. He has rigors in the open air with great thirst and slime between the lips, which seals them together. And the fourth symptom that is mentioned is when walking in the open cold air, he becomes warm and breaks out into a cold sweat all over. This is what is mentioned for aggravation with cold weather, cold air. No mention. I'm not saying that Rustox is not useful. Try to understand me. I'm not saying that Rustox is not useful for aggravations or complaints happening in rainy weather. What I'm trying to tell you is that primarily some people prescribe Rustox on the basis of symptoms. And they found that a lot of patients who were coming to them in rainy weather, they were giving symptoms of Rustox. And that is how Rustox got added to the repertory as aggravation in rainy weather. But what comes first? The symptoms come first, or the getting wet in rain comes first? The symptoms come first. The Dulcamara, in Dulcamara also, you do not get any mention of rain or getting wet. What you get is wet and cold weather. Now there is a difference. Getting wet and aggravation in cold damp weather, that they are two different things. So what I personally feel is that primarily what you need to do whenever you are seeing any patient, okay, this patient has come to me, so first the remedies should come to me from the rubric getting aggravation in rainy weather. Okay, but what the remedy should that come to your mind should be the ones that cover the symptoms first. So if your patient is giving you symptoms of Rustox, give Rustox. If your patient is giving symptoms of Calcarea carb, give Calcarea carb. Do you know Calcarea carb is a very good remedy for weather in complaints in rainy weather? Even Calcarea phosphorica is a very good remedy. Nux mosqueta. Who uses Nux mosqueta for complaints during rainy weather? It's given there and it's useful. But problem is we don't know, so we limit ourselves. We limit ourselves to the couple of remedies that we know. Okay, if it is raining mildly, then give Rustox. If it's very damp and cold, give Dulcamara. If it is warm and sultry, then give Natrum sulfuricum. If it is raining cats and dogs, then give Arania diadema. This kind of logic is actually very restrictive. Because what happens is then you are starting with a group of 5 or 6 remedies. You do not even know the 20 remedies that are listed there. Say for hydrogenoid constitutions, there are 20-25 remedies listed in a repertory. So you do not even begin with a basket of 25 remedies. What you are because most of the homeopaths I see, and they don't repertorize acute cases. So you're not repertorizing. So when you're not repertorizing, you are going just by your memory. When you're going just by your memory, you have a very limited set of remedies to begin with. 4, 5, 6, at most 8. So your choice of remedy gets limited because of this kind of prejudice that you begin with. That I have to prescribe amongst these 8 remedies or amongst these 6 remedies. What is this? This is a prejudice. And what does Hahnemann tells us in aphorism number 6? What do we need as a quality for good case taking to be a good homeopath? It's freedom from prejudice. So when you are beginning with a very small set of therapeutic remedies, you are prejudiced right at the onset in favor of those remedies. What happens if that patient gives you symptoms of Natrum muriaticum? Will you not give Natrum muriaticum? What about China? All China remedies have aggravation in rainy weather. And China is again very useful in acutes. But not just China, why not Chininum ars? Why not Chininum sulf? So a lot of remedies, suppose if a patient is coming to you with a lot of cough. and the patient is giving you symptoms of antim-tart. So what will you prescribe? Will you prescribe antim-tart or will you prescribe Dulcamara? Antim-tart.
Yeah.
Similarly, if a patient is coming to you, uh, say with remedy, with cough of coccus cacti, is giving you clear symptoms of coccus cacti or rheumix, then you will prescribe that remedy rather than restricting you to the group of remedies that are so-called seasonal.
Mm.
So that is what is my take on uh, restricting myself to the so-called rainy remedies. For me, any remedy is rainy remedy. Every remedy that comes up in that my patient gives me is good enough for me. I don't say that a certain set of remedies are more useful in a certain period of time, in certain weather conditions. I'm not denying that. We know that
Mm.
aconite is useful in winters.
Mm.
Okay. But at the same time, aconite can be useful if you are exposed to dry cold air of an AC. What kind of air an AC throws?
Mm.
It is dry and cold.
Good.
Exactly the air that is responsible for aconite symptoms. Although it might be hot summer. So that is what I'm saying. Ki rather than, I'm not saying you should not know what remedies are useful in rainy weather. You should know your Dulcamara, you should know your Rustox, you should know your aconite, arsenic album, you should know your CPI, you should know your Calcarea carb, you should know your Arania diadema, uh, any other remedy in that list. But what I'm saying is just do not go enter in any case. If this is rainy weather, I'm going to prescribe this. If it is winter, then I'm going to prescribe this. If it is summers, then I'm going to prescribe this. There are remedies that will aggravate in summer. There are remedies that will aggravate in rainy weather. But that comes after you have taken the symptoms of the case, the individualizing symptoms of the case. The rain is not individualizing. The rain is common for all. How that person is reacting in that rain, that is what makes that individualizing to that person. No?
Yeah.
Suppose you are going out with a couple of friends.
Mm.
Your five best friends, you go out for shopping. You love shopping?
Sort of.
It's all okay. So you go out for shopping and suddenly it rains. It's this August, September month, and you all five
Mm.
get drenched. Okay. Now nothing happens to you.
Mm.
Lucky you, you are a homeopath, you take homeopathy, you have got good immune system. One of your friends ends up with a fever. Your second friend ends up with cough and cold. Your third friend has myalgia and body ache the next day. Your fourth friend has a hive, has a rash
Mm.
next day. Now all these are four different reactions. Okay. Now the friend who has got fever. Okay. What kind of fever that person has? What is the now that the person came down with that complaint, this itself is an individualizing effect of the weather condition on that person. But it doesn't end there. The individualization only begins there. Now we have to see how does this person who has got fever by getting wet in rain differs from all other people who get fever by getting wet in rain. Not different from other people who get arthritis in rainy weather or who get rash in, after getting wet in rain. No, that is not the kind of differentiation we need. Individualization means that he individualized this person's fever, this person who has had fever by getting wet in rain, from all other people who get fever by getting wet in rain. That is when you individualize. If you do not do this individualization, and if you start prescribing, okay, you have got wet in rain, you have got fever, you have got pain in your joints, let's give Rustox. This is how we operate.
Yeah.
Majority of time, most of the homeopaths, this is the way we operate. And that is where the problem starts, because that is not individualization. That is generalization, that you are giving the same remedy to everyone who gets fever after getting wet. So that is the reason you don't get quick results. Results that are magical. अभी दवाई दी खत्म, दो एक घंटे में पता चल गया कि ये मरीज ठीक हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है. You don't have to continue repeating 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, or you do not have to give 5 different remedies or complexes and mother tinctures and biochemic remedies all together just to give relief to the patient. कि कुछ तो लगेगा, ये नहीं तो ये लगेगा, ये नहीं तो ये लगेगा, कुछ तो लगेगा. रोस्टॉक से नहीं उतरा तो फेरमफॉस से उतरेगा, फेरमफॉस से नहीं उतरा तो कोई बायो कॉम्बिनेशन दे देंगे, उससे उतरेगा. वो भी नहीं उतरेगा तो अपन एक्वानाइट 3x टिका देंगे मरीज को, उससे उतरेगा. This is how most homeopaths practice. I'm not against these homeopaths. I love every homeopath, but I'm against the teachers and the colleges who are producing, who are teaching this kind of homeopathy. So that is a grudge I do have against the education system that we have, that we are taught, we are preached that homeopathy is all about individualization, and then you don't teach the students how to individualize the case. The individualization that is being taught in the colleges is more about generalization rather than individualization. So now you have my answer. What do I do for acutes during rainy weather or any weather whatsoever?
Yeah. So there are other things which we need to keep in mind while treating such cases.
Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, like you said, no, individualization and the things we need to keep in mind. Are there any other things which we need to keep in mind?
Yes. When you are treating acutes, the mental aspect is very, very important. Very important. In Organon of Medicine, Hahnemann has written, there is no aconite without fear and there is no nux vomica without irritability. These are not my words.
Yeah.
Whose words are these? Hahnemann's words. Where are they written? They are written in the Organon of Medicine. Now, Hahnemann से ऊपर तो कोई नहीं है ना. उनको खुद को ये समझ में आ गया था कि when we are treating acutes, we do not just need the symptoms that are physical in nature. We need symptoms. We need to understand how that person is reacting mentally to that acute fever. So a patient, a patient who has got fever after getting wet in the rain, one of the patients is hyperactive, restless. Another is just dull and drowsy. Another is irritable. Another has suddenly become weepy. Now, if you don't take this individualizing expression of that patient, then you are not going to provide radical cures during acute conditions. So whenever you are treating any acute conditions, and I'll tell you one thing, in majority of acute conditions, I'm not sure why a lot of homeopaths feel hesitant to ask about acutes. कि मरीज से पूछेंगे उसको कैसा लगेगा. This kind of hitch we have. The problem is that I personally feel that patients are more than willing to tell you how they are feeling. So I personally ask you, now there is again two things. You're not supposed to ask, how is your nature? Describe yourself as a person during an acute case. That is a mistake. Because what we have to do, we have to see the change in disposition. What are the words that Hahnemann has used? Useful to the treatment of an acute disease are the changes in the disposition of the person. So when we are saying change in the disposition, we do not mean that, okay, this person is mild and yielding, give him pulsatilla. No. How is that person after he or she became sick? Is that person restless? Is that person dull? Is that person irritable? Is that person weepy? How is that person reacting? So always look for the change in disposition. Do not just give a chronic remedy of the patient to your acute patient unless and until the patient is giving you the symptoms of the same remedy. Do not look for the disposition of the patient, look for the change in the disposition of that person since he or she has fallen sick. So this is I believe the most important thing that you need to ask your patients, observe. In your patients, a lot of mental symptoms come through observation. And if you're not able to observe, ask the patient, how are you feeling since you have fallen sick? If the patient is is a child, ask the mother, how is the patient feeling? Is there any change in his or her behavior since he has got fever or the diarrhea? At least try. Not every patient will give you those symptoms. But if you do not try, no patient will give you those symptoms.
Related to this, there's one question. Sir, how to individualize a single person who has symptoms? Here we are going through generalization. I think in
Now,
their place, they are going through generalization. They're asking how to individualize a single person who has a
that is what
symptoms.
that is what I'm saying. Individualization means you identify the change in the mental disposition of that patient and you identify the PQRS symptoms of that patient. Now the PQRS can be any symptom. It can be related to the fever. Suppose the patient has got fever. It can be desires or aversions. It can be thirst. It can be perspiration. It can be thermal reaction. But problem is you have to actually be meticulous in asking about your questions. For example, if the patient is telling you that he gets a lot of sweat during fever, then you have to clarify, when do you sweat? Is it while you have the fever or is it after the fever is over? Where do you sweat? Because if the patient is sweating only on the covered parts, the remedies are very clear. If the patient is sweating only on the uncovered parts, the remedies are different. If the patient is sweating on the parts lain upon, then the remedies are different. This is how we individualize. You do not just individualizing by asking. Thirst is important. Food desires are very, very important. I give a lot of importance to food desires and aversions. What is the child asking for? मरीज से ये नहीं पूछना कि इसको खाने में क्या अच्छा लगता है. नहीं, that is a wrong question in an acute. ये खाने के लिए क्या मांग रहा है जब से इसकी तकलीफ खराब हुई, इसने क्या मांगा या क्या चीज खुशी खुशी खा ली. What has this child eaten happily since he has had fever, or what is this child has spontaneously asked for? तो माँ बताती है कि कुछ नहीं खा रहा जब से इसको फीवर हुआ है. सुबह खिचड़ी बनाई थी, नहीं खाई. दोपहर में रोटी सब्जी दी थी, वो भी नहीं खाई. फिर शाम को इसने थोड़ा सा फ्रूट खा लिया था. फ्रूट खुशी खुशी खा रहा है. You have got your craving. So you know, if this patient who is dull during fever, if he has aversion to fruit, he might be antim-tart. And if he's craving fruit, he might be acid pos. This is how you individualize. Both are dull.
Yeah.
Antim-tart is also dull and acid pos is dull. One doesn't like fruit, one likes fruit. So this is how you individualize. And you don't be in a rush to prescribe. Another thing that I'll request my young homeopathic friends. In acute cases, do not be in a rush to prescribe. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि 2 मिनट की जगह 10 मिनट लग जाएंगे. 10 मिनट से ज्यादा नहीं लगते. But 10 मिनट अगर आप पेशेंट को दोगे, you will be able to individualize, and if your remedy is right, it has magical effect. And when the magic effect is magical, the amount of faith your patient develops in you is tremendous. The kind of referrals you will get will be humongous.
There's one more interesting question. So when patient is sick, patient is not answering question, then how to treat in that condition? When patient is not answering.
That the patient is not answering the questions, that itself is a symptom.
Yes.
Take that as a symptom. There are a lot of rubrics in the mind chapter related to this. You have to look into this. But these are the symptoms that you take. Look, there are rubrics like symptoms paucity of, and there's even a rubric symptoms excess of. If there's a patient who is giving you lots of symptoms, and they are chronic cases, they usually you don't get these patients in acute cases, but uh, if in a chronic case, sometimes the patient keeps on giving you symptoms. शरीर का कोई part नहीं बचता, हर part से related 5 symptoms बोलता है. You can take loquacious for such patients, but sometimes they are not loquacious. They just mention so many complaints, and you are lost. कि अब करें तो क्या करें? So sometimes there is a rubric for that also. Complaints too many in generalities. So you have to actually learn to observe the patient. You just don't listen to the patient. You have to observe the patient. You have to understand the pattern of the patient. You have to see how the patient is behaving during that sickness. If he is giving you too much symptoms, that is also a symptom. If the patient is not giving any symptoms, that is also a symptom. If the child is coming to you very easily and telling you all the symptoms, that itself is a symptom. If the patient child is hiding behind the mother, that is another symptom. If the child is becoming cross, when you ask him and the child yells, that itself is a symptom. But you will know these symptoms only if you understand your repertory well. If you don't study repertory, if you don't study rubrics, if you don't study the materia medica differentiation, then you cannot practice, then you cannot individualize.
As you said about the repertory, how important is it to repertorize in acute cases? Because as you said rightly that most of the time people often forget to repertorize in acute cases.
I personally feel that it's very important, because what happens is that you often miss very important remedies. For example, I'll tell you something. When it comes to aggravation in rainy weather, the remedy that has most aggravation in rainy weather in mental plane as well as physical plane is not Rostov Camara. It is sepia.
Other remedies.
It is sepia. And then after sepia, there is Calcarea Force, Calcarea Carb, then there is Calcarea Force, and then there is Nux Mostetta. Then there is Alien Sepia. So what is happening is that if you do not, your patient is not just giving you physical symptoms, there is aggravation on the mental plane also. And if you look at the remedies, there is a rubric, rainy weather aggravates in the mind also. And it has a slightly different set of remedies. Then there is a patient who always falls sick during rainy weather. Every year. For that, you don't take that rubric, aggravation in rainy weather. You take, there is a rubric in generalities, hydrogenoid constitution. And it has got around 23 remedies listed in it. So you take that rubric for patients who are falling sick every rainy weather. And then you have, for that you have remedies like natron salt, you have got thuya. These are the remedies listed there. So this is how you approach. You have to study a lot. If you do not study, if you do not work, then you should not expect the results also. फिर तो वही करना पड़ेगा कि वो बाबा जी का घोटा जो बना के देते हैं 5 दवाई का, वही देना पड़ेगा.
There's a question. If mental symptom is prominent in acute case, should we give higher potency?
Yes. Higher means you do not have to go to 10 m. But moderately high potency like 201 m, yes. If the patient is not giving you a lot of mental symptoms, then it's better to stick to the lower potencies like 6C, 12C, 30C. 30C is a very safe potency, but even lower potencies work well.
I'll take one more question from the people, and it is like, sir, aversion कैसे पता करते हैं? इसमें question कैसे पूछेंगे? How you ask question for the aversions?
Aversions related to food.
Yeah.
Aversion can be related to anything. Okay, but when it comes to food aversion, कि खाने पीने में देखो पहली चीज तो ये कि लीडिंग क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछना, एक ये बेसिक रूल है.
Yeah.
एक बेसिक रूल है. अभी क्रॉनिक केस है तो हम सीधे सीधे पूछ लेते हैं भाई आपको खाने में ऐसी क्या चीज है जो सख्त नापसंद है या जिसे खाने से आपको कोई तकलीफ होती है. नाउ आई एम कवरिंग टू थिंग्स. वन इज अवर्जन एज वेल एज एग्रीवेशन. बिकॉज वी नीड टू मेक अ डिफरेंशिएशन ऑल्सो. जैसे कई बार मरीज कह देते हैं कि डॉक्टर साहब मेरे को बैंगन खाना नहीं अच्छा लगता है ना, एंड यू राइट डाउन अवर्जन टू aubergine or brinjal or whatever you say it, call it in your country. But then you have to ask that patient कि खाने में क्यों नहीं अच्छा लगता. कई बार क्या होता है कि जिस पेशेंट्स को एक्चुअली एग्रेवेशन होता है उस प्रॉब्लम उस चीज से, इसलिए उसको खाना छोड़ देते हैं, इसलिए उनको पसंद नहीं होता. नाउ दैट इज टू डिफरेंट. मुझे दूध पीना पसंद नहीं है डॉक्टर साहब. You write down aversion to milk. Then you ask why you do not like drinking milk. If the patient says, डॉक्टर साहब मुझे कभी अच्छा ही नहीं लगा, then you know that it's an aversion. और पेशेंट कहे डॉक्टर साहब दूध पीते ना मेरा तो पेट फूल जाता है, मेरे को गैस बहुत बन जाती है, इसलिए मैं तो दूध नहीं पीता. Now you know that it's not aversion. It is aggravation. And the remedies are different. Aversion milk and aggravation milk, different remedies. अभी वो फाइन ट्यून नहीं किया क्वेश्चन को फाइन ट्यून नहीं किया तो गलत दवाइयों में पहुंचोगे. आपका रिपर्टराइजेशन गलत होगा तो रिजल्ट भी गलत होगा. रिमेंबर, रिपर्टरी और कंप्यूटर्स वर्क ऑन गीगो प्रिंसिपल. गीगो इज GIGO. It's a very commonly used acronym in computer science. And what is GIGO? Garbage in, garbage out. कचरा डालोगे कंप्यूटर को तो कचरे का ही रिजल्ट देगा. कंप्यूटर में खुद में इंटेलिजेंस नहीं है. आप गलत रूब्रिक्स चूज करके डालोगे तो गलत ही दवाइयां बताएगा आपका रिपर्टराइजेशन चार्ट. सो यू हैव टू हैव दैट काइंड ऑफ डिलिजेंस. अक्यूट केसेस में अब हमको कैसे अवर्जन देखना है. अक्यूट केसेस में डिजायर्स का ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस होता है. अवर्जन से ज्यादा डिजायर्स का इंपॉर्टेंट होता है बिकॉज लॉट ऑफ अक्यूट्स में ज्यादातर चीजें खाना बंद कर देते हैं, स्पेशली बच्चे, बिकॉज आई सी लॉट ऑफ पीडियाट्रिक केसेस आल्सो. आई हैव डन माय MD इन पीडियाट्रिक्स. तो अक्यूट में अक्सर ये होता है बच्चे खाना पीना बंद कर देते हैं. तो वहां पे आप अवर्जन कैसे निकालो. वहां पे इंपॉर्टेंट किस चीज की कि अभी इसको कुछ नहीं अच्छा लग रहा फिर भी क्या खा रहा है. दैट इज अ क्रेविंग. दैट इज मोर इंपॉर्टेंट इन अक्यूट केसेस. इन क्रॉनिक केसेस अवर्जन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट.
I hope I have considered all the questions which people have posted. If in case I've missed something, you can post it again. And yeah, my next question is, in cases like chronic tendencies with acute exacerbation in monsoon, how to, how to approach in such cases where they, so that it don't reoccur.
Don't reoccur, that is a different set of different question. Now, how do you handle acute aggravations of chronic diseases when the aggravation is occurring in rainy weather? Now, there are certain disease conditions which tend to aggravate in rainy weather. Say arthritis, joint pains aggravate, myalgias aggravate, asthma aggravates. Now, there are two things. There is aggravation in rainy weather and there is acute aggravation in rainy weather. These are two different things. What do you mean by aggravation in rainy weather? सर मेरे को हर साल ना सांस की तकलीफ अस्थमा ना बारिशों में ज्यादा बढ़ जाता है. That is aggravation in rainy weather. You do not need a chronic acute remedy for that. Okay, you need your chronic remedy for that because aggravation in rainy weather is the chronic state of that patient. But when the patient is coming to your clinic, तो सब सांस ही नहीं आ रहा, मेरे को कल से लेटा ही नहीं जा रहा, मेरी खांसी बंद नहीं हो रही, मेरे को इतनी सांस लेने में दिक्कत हो रही है, मैं इनहेलर लेता हूं तो मेरे को 5 मिनट 2-4 घंटे के लिए आराम आता है, फिर मेरे को उठ के बैठना पड़ता है. That is an acute attack of a chronic disease. During that acute aggravation, acute exacerbation of a chronic disease, you need an acute remedy. And you do not prescribe on the chronic totality, you prescribe on the acute totality
Okay.
at that point of time. Once that acute exacerbation of the chronic condition settles down, then you retake the case and find out what is the chronic remedy for this case. This is how you handle acute aggravations during of a chronic disease during
Chronic
that.
disease.
Yes, in any weather,
Okay.
in any weather.
So, what are the other things which we should keep in mind and how to handle this the monsoon cases? Apart from all these things which we have mentioned, of course, it is very important and it's a learning for me as well. I'm going to also follow certain things which I have missed it nowadays, which I'm going to do it for sure. And what are the other things we can like preventive measures also we take, right? So,
Look, preventive measures in homeopathy practice, they are restricted to counseling the patient.
hmm,
But otherwise, PSM is not in your area of work unless and until you are a Sarkari doctor.
hmm,
If you are a Sarkari doctor, then you are responsible for the public health campaigns also. But when you are working in your own clinic, then majority of time you do not have to do a lot of counseling related to that, except that if you are suspecting uh, a lot of patients in a particular family who are getting diarrhea, you can counsel them about not eating out frequently, because what we see in rainy weather is a lot of gastroenteritis. That is also a very common disease that we see.
hmm,
Diarrheas, upset stomachs, because what happens is that in rainy weather, a lot of water-based cooking, water gets stale very quickly. So that produces a lot of gastrointestinal infections in rainy weather. So you can tell them about not eating often outside, uncooked food, unprocessed meat products, or if there are a lot of fever cases coming in a family, then you should counsel them about making sure that there is no water reservoir in their home, a cooler that remains filled all the monsoon and is a host place for mosquitoes. So that kind of basic counseling is required in homeopathy, and that you should be aware of. But apart from that, I lot of preventive and social medicine aspect, we don't need a lot of that in our
hmm.
practice.
There's a few more questions if you want to answer from
Yeah,
the
yeah, sure, go
people.
ahead.
Yeah. If acute remedy is antidote of our chronic medicine, then what do we do? Please guide us.
A right
Oh.
remedy doesn't antidote anything. What happens is that there is an acute state. When the acute state, you give an acute remedy. The acute remedy covers only the acute state. As the acute state gets over, the effect of the acute remedy also gets over. Then you have your chronic state and you have to prescribe for it. It usually will never antidote.
Which book we have to follow and study for practice?
Oh,
Oh,
that is a difficult one. I
yes.
believe the first book is The Organon of Medicine. The second book is
Hmm.
Chronic Diseases. The third book is uh, any good book on Materia Medica, which I believe that you should at least read at least once in your life some core work. कभी दो चार दवाई पढ़ के देखो, एलेंस encyclopedia से या मटेरिया मेडिका प्यूरा से या chronic disease से या हेरिंग्स गाइडिंग symptoms से कुछ पढ़ के देखो. You will realize कि uh, there is a lot of difference in what is taught in Materia Medicas and what is actually written in the provings. The Materia Medicas give you a very, very limited view of
Hmm.
the medicines. A medicine like sulfur has what, 30,000 symptoms in its provings. So do you read those 30,000 symptoms? No, you don't read those
No.
30,000 symptoms, or you read only 100 symptoms in your Materia Medica, and out of that you remember 10, and your whole practice of sulfur is based on those 10 symptoms. I can tell you: dirty appearance, number one; dirty skin, नंबर 2, किसी को ज्यादा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ध्यान रह गई तो थिन एंड स्टूप शोल्डर.
Yeah.
ठीक है. नंबर 3, aversion to bathing. Number 4, itching that is worse by scratching and the patient scratches till it bleeds. Number 5, desire for sweets. That is number 6, desire for sweets. Number 7, redness of orifices. Number 8 would be thermal, would be hot. Number 9 could be Bill's air castles. Try to understand that these are the 9-10 symptoms that nearly every homeopath remembers of sulfur and practices on those. All the sulfur is this. ये 10 symptom. और क्रूइंग में कितने हैं? 30,000. एनसाइक्लोपीडिया में कितने हैं? There are at least 1500-2000 symptoms एनसाइक्लोपीडिया में भी होंगे. Tering's guiding symptom में भी होंगे. So we are living, that is the reason it is important to repertorize. Because if you don't repertorize your cases, then you will miss majority of the symptoms, even of the right remedies.
Talking about repertorization, there's one more question. For repertorization, which book we to follow?
For repertorization, there is no one book that you have to follow. You can learn your basics from any book. You can learn your basics of repertorization from any book. What is important is that you go into the repertory. And it has become very difficult for students today, even for me today, because of the computers. Because of the computers, you don't read repertory. In our times, when there were no computers, repertory की किताब खोलते थे. अभी मेरे को कोई रूब्रिक ढूंढना है तो मेरे को उसके लिए 100 रूब्रिक और पढ़ने पड़ते थे. तो 100 रूब्रिक समझ में आते थे, पता चलता था यहाँ दिमाग में कि ये भी एग्जिस्ट करता है. अभी आप वो सर्च कर लेते हो, क्रॉस रेफरेंस कर लेते हो रिपर्टरी में, आपको पता ही नहीं चलता कि और कौन कौन सी रूब्रिक्स हैं एंड व्हाट आर द रिलेटेड रूब्रिक्स. सो इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू मेक अ स्टडी ऑफ योर रिपर्टरी वेल, एज अ रिपर्टरी ऑल्सो, एज अ टूल टू स्टडी मटेरिया मेडिका ऑल्सो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू आर स्टडिंग डलकामारा, then go to the mind section and take out all the rubrics of the remedy Dalkamara which are given in the mind section of any repertory. एंड सी की डलकामारा का माइंड कैसा होता है, रूस्टॉक्स का माइंड कैसा होता है, और क्या क्या एस्पेक्ट्स हैं, उसके ड्रीम्स कैसे हैं, उसका डिल्यूजन कैसा है. तो यू नीड बहुत सारा एफर्ट चाहिए होता है, बहुत सारा. मैं खुद नहीं करता. आई विल नॉट बोस्ट कि मैं बहुत सारा पढ़ता हूँ. मैं बहुत सारा नहीं पढ़ता हूँ. आई विल बी वेरी ट्रूथफुल, बट आई फील मेरे को वो मेरी खुद की लाइफ में कमी लगती है दैट आई डोंट रीड इनफ. Especially since this computer has come into my life, it is such a big distraction. And then second distraction, the mobile phone. So they are such big distractions for all our life, or each one of us. I believe अगर पढ़ाई करनी है, अगर जिंदगी में किसी भी फील्ड में अगर आपको ग्रो करना है, सक्सीड करना है, one thing you need to restrict is your on-screen time. Mobile phone, computer, दोनों से हाथ जोड़ना पड़ेगा. Use them. I'm not saying don't use them, but use them as a tool which aids in your professional growth rather than time pass. टाइम पास करोगे तो टाइम पास ही हो जाएगा, पता भी नहीं चलेगा कब बड़े हो गए.
Yes, I think this happens with most of the people.
Everyone. Even ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ तो आई एम above and beyond everyone. I make sure that I do not have any social media app on my phone. No social media. This Instagram I installed only after you got me into the Insta world for these Insta lives.
You don't have any?
No. I don't use Facebook for my personal communication. I don't use LinkedIn for my personal communication. I don't use Insta for my public communication. They are all used for professional networking only. And I make sure that for any social media app or even any app that I don't like in general or don't use very often, I disable notifications of every single app. Even Zomato or Uber or Ola or any other app that I have, most of the apps that I have in my on my phone, they are all, every notification is off. If you don't have that kind of, if you don't have that kind of restriction in your life, then it's very easy to get distracted. That is how these companies earn. It's they are craving for your eyeballs, they are craving for your attention, and they will do everything in by hook or crook to get your attention, to make you spend more time on Instagram, or make you spend more time on Snapchat or LinkedIn or what, so many other chat platforms, and Facebook. This That is how these companies earn their money. And it's not you, uh, they are just taking your time, the time that you can spend in your personal growth, the time you can spend on in reading a book, the time you can study, use to you read some materia medica, the time you can use to explore some rubrics, the time you can use to promote yourself clinically, the time you can use to build your website. All that time is being eaten away by these apps. So be very very worried. जिंदगी में कुछ बनना है ना, तो कुछ सेक्रीफाइस करने पड़ेंगे. फिर वही कह रहा हूँ, टाइम पास करोगे तो टाइम पास हो जाएगा, पता भी नहीं चलेगा, and you will not succeed in life.
I was about to ask you this question, but I still going to ask this question. Like, of course, you have given mantras already, but I still want to ask this: that what's your mantra for life and for homeopathy as well? As you have talking about this mantra, that's why.
The mantra, now there is no one mantra, lot of mantras, and they keep changing depending on the life situation. But there are a couple of things that I strongly adhere to. One thing is, have faith in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, no one is going to believe in you. Have trust in what you are doing. Don't be afraid of failures. आएंगे, failures तो आएंगे. Success is never like a graph like this. Success is always like this and this and this. Lot of failures, lots of ups and downs. So don't be afraid of failures. Don't be afraid of struggles. I see a lot of young homeopaths, they want early success. They want quick success. They want to be famous. They want to earn 1 lakh rupees right from the very beginning. ये नहीं होता है. Ultimately, अगर आप अच्छे होम्योपैथ हो तो मरीज अपने आप आएगा. लेकिन जब आपको अच्छा खाना बनाना होता है ना, तो अच्छा खाना धीमी आंच पे बनता है. धीमी आंच पे बनता है. माँ की दाल जो बेस्ट बनती है ना, I'm not a cook, but what I've heard from my family members, my wife and her mother and my mother, कि माँ की दाल सबसे अच्छी तब बनती है जब उसको धीमी आंच पे पूरी रात उबलने दो. तो उसको कुकर में सीटी दे के पका तो लेते हैं, but then it doesn't taste good. तो खाना भी अच्छा तब बनता है जब उसको वक्त दो. इंसान भी अच्छा तब बनता है, उसकी प्रैक्टिस भी अच्छी तब बनती है, उसकी नॉलेज भी तब बनती है जब उसको वक्त दो. अपने सिस्टम को वक्त दो, उसके साथ मेहनत करो, उसके साथ एफर्ट करो, हर मरीज को वक्त दो, gradually, and even then there will be there are no shortcuts to success. Absolutely no shortcuts to success. I'll tell you something about my own practice. When I opened my clinic, that was in 2001. छोटा सा clinic खोला था. I was in love with Hahnemann even back then. I was a fanatic for what Hahnemann has done. Not a fanatic, but yes, a true lover. Unfortunately, I could not get a lot of good training in classical homeopathy during my college years. But I still wanted to practice classical homeopathy. So when I opened my clinic, I made sure that in my clinic, I never kept any mother tinctures, any biocombinations, any biochemic remedies, even ferrum phos, calcarea phos, nothing. No ointments, no calendula, no arnica, nothing. पता है क्यों? क्योंकि अगर होती है ना तो हाथ चल जाता है. दवाई नहीं समझ में आ रही पेशेंट को, क्या करें यार, एक्ोनाइट दे देते हैं, साथ में फेरम फॉस 6x दे देते हैं. इस पेशेंट को मदर रीनल कैलकुलस का मदर वो है, अपना पेशेंट है, अपन इसको लाइकोपोडियम दे देते हैं, साथ में बर्बेरिस वल्गेरिस का मदर टिंचर दे देते हैं. या सरसपुरेला का मदर टिंचर भी देते हैं, यही सिखाया जाता है ना क्योंकि हमको। सो नाउ देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम, मैंने अपनी क्लिनिक पे क्यों नहीं रखा, क्योंकि अगर होगी तो हाथ जाएगा, होगी नहीं तो कहां से जाएगा। झक मार के एफर्ट करूंगा कि मेरे को उस मरीज की सिंगल बेस्ट मेडिसिन निकालनी है।
Right.
सो आई आज मेरी क्लिनिक पे शायद मिल जाएगी तुम्हारे को, कुछ मदर टिंचर्स भी मिल जाएंगे जो कि हम शायद साल में 4 बार कभी यूज करते होंगे। कुछ बायोकेमिक मेडिसिन भी मिल जाएंगी। बट वो जब मेरा सीखने का टाइम था, मैंने जिद कर ली कि नहीं, या तो ऐसा करना है तो फिर ऐसा ही करना है। एंड इट वॉज नॉट ईजी, आई विल टेल यू, जितने मरीज आते थे उसमें से 70% में फेल होता था, क्योंकि सीखा तो नहीं था ना उस लेवल का। लेकिन पर वो राह नहीं छोड़ी, जिद थी तो रास्ता मिलता गया। वो कहते हैं ना कि अगर आप किसी चीज को पाने की शिद्दत से ख्वाहिश करते हो तो सारी कायनात आपको वो मिलाने की कोशिश करती है उससे। किसका, शाहरुख खान का डायलॉग था,
Yeah.
है ना। सो इफ यू लव समबडी, वो कायनात आपको मिला देती है उससे आगे पीछे।
Beautiful. So you were very determined right from the starting, or something happened? I'm just getting off track, but
I just fell in love with the animal work.
okay. That love was there.
Yeah, absolutely. Right from the, actually, I read Organon before I went to the
Hmm.
homeopathic college. So I was in love with the philosophy. That is why I joined the homeopathic college. That is why I decided कि यही करना है जिंदगी में और कुछ नहीं करना।
Okay.
तो वो ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं भटका नहीं, फिर कॉलेज का
Hmm.
माहौल देखा और कई चीजें देखी तो लगा कि छोड़ देता हूँ होम्योपैथी। साथ में मैंने फिर ग्रेजुएशन की कंप्यूटर साइंस में, और फिर लगा कि मैं पहली जॉब वाज एज अ सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर, नॉट एज अ होम्योपैथ। फिर लगा कि मैं
Really?
सिविल सर्विसेज, यस, आई एम सॉफ्टवेयर
Okay.
क्वालिफाइड सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोफेशनल आल्सो, आई
Hmm.
एम ग्रेजुएट इन कंप्यूटर एप्लीकेशंस। फिर सोचा मैं सिविल सर्विसेज दूंगा, फिर समझ में आया कि नहीं, दिल तो वही है जहाँ छोड़ा था फर्स्ट ईयर में। छोड़ा कभी भी नहीं था, होम्योपैथी कर रहा था, एग्जाम्स दे रहा था, पास हो रहा था, वहां पे भी अच्छे नंबर आ रहे थे। बट देन आई रियलाइज कि नहीं, जिंदगी में और कहीं मेरा मन नहीं लग रहा। So I and came back to homeopathy, ended up opening a clinic soon, and then God has been very kind after that. That is what I say. I have got more in life than I really deserved. जितने की
Sir,
ख्वाहिश
of
करी,
course, your hard work is there.
नहीं पता है, जितने की ख्वाहिश करी और जितने की मेहनत
Hmm.
करी, ईश्वर ने उसे ज्यादा दिया।
Like, sir, as you have mentioned also, the education system we know, हमें क्या सिखाया जा रहा है. So, what are the things those who are, in the college right now and those who are watching this, what are the advice you want to give to them that where they should invest most of their time and what they can
देखो, मेरे हमारे टाइम पे what in our time what we used to, the problem we used to face is that if we want to learn from someone, we have to go to their
do?
clinic and पैर पकड़ने पड़ते
Right.
थे, सर सिखा दो।
Hmm.
Or you have to attend tons of seminars or clinical courses, and for that you need to travel. Abhi, because of this digital revolution that we have, you can learn from any damn master. Everyone is available on YouTube. Everyone is available on Facebook. Everyone is giving webinars and online classes, online courses. So for the student of today, if they say कि college में कुछ नहीं पढ़ा है इसलिए हम नहीं कर सकते, तो they are just lying to themselves. The best of the teachers are available today. Best of the courses are available today online. Most of the stuff is available for free. पढ़ने वाला चाहिए, आप पढ़ो ना। आर्निका पढ़नी है आपको, आर्निका के 20 लेक्चर्स मिल जाएंगे आपको यूट्यूब पे।
Hmm.
आपको कोई फैमिली पढ़नी है, रनन कोले से पढ़नी है, सोलनी से पढ़नी है, कुछ भी पढ़ना है आप पढ़ो ना, सब लेक्चर्स अवेलेबल हैं। अगर फ्री का कोई लेक्चर अवेलेबल नहीं है तो पेड लेक्चर्स अवेलेबल हैं, पेड कोर्सेज अवेलेबल हैं। You want to learn about Vijayka's method, you want to learn about HHF, you want to learn about Segal's work, you want to learn about Jeremy Sher's work or Sholton's work or plant kingdoms uh, or Dr. Sangchun's work, Dr. Candy Gabe's work, facial analysis, पोलैरिटी एनालिसिस, हर अप्रोच अवेलेबल है ऑनलाइन. अच्छे अच्छे कोर्सेज अवेलेबल हैं, बहुत सारे लेक्चर्स अवेलेबल हैं. यू कैन विजिट hpd.com. देयर इज टन्स ऑफ
Yeah.
literature there also. We publish so many cases there, and we take lot of hard work in ratifying those cases, make sure that the best stuff is published from the best of the authors around the world. So there is no dearth of literature and audiovisual material today. अभी कोई कहता है कि नहीं पढ़ा या नहीं पढ़ाया तो उसकी कमी है, कॉलेज की कमी नहीं है. कॉलेज तो ठीक है, जो है सो है. नाउ कॉलेजेस आर नॉट मेंट टू spoon feed you. There are good colleges, there are bad colleges, there are good teachers,
Yeah.
there are bad teachers, but today every student has got tons of options available and they should make use of them.
Yeah. Also, I want to talk about one thing more, the skin diseases. You see a lot of skin cases in monsoon season. So, how do you approach in such cases? Or
I'm I'm not
what?
I'm not a very good person to answer this, because you know how I approach my cases.
Yes.
So this is
So
a wrong
similarly,
question.
it goes with the skin
Any
diseases
disease,
also.
any disease,
Okay.
you look at the signs and symptoms of the case,
Hmm.
then you individualize that particular patient.
Hmm.
You can think of a couple of remedies. Okay, these remedies have these symptoms in rainy weather. That's
Hmm.
okay. But that could be a beginning point, but that cannot be an end point. So ultimately, the signs and symptoms of the patient and the individualizing PQRS symptoms, the concomitants, the desires, aversions, all that matters. अप्रोच कोई सी भी डिजीज हो, देखो होम्योपैथी बहुत सिंपल है. एनी डिजीज द अप्रोच इज सेम. इससे सिंपल क्या होगा?
Hmm.
Whatever might be the disease, whatever might be the pathology, how, what more simplicity do you want? Any disease, any pathology, the approach is same. All you need to do is you need to take the case, you need to find out what is PQRS in this case, what is individualizing about this person, and then you prescribe on the basis of that. And majority of time you will get good results if you follow this basic principle. Don't make homeopathy very complicated. It's very easy, provided you put in your hard work. It's
Yeah.
easy to practice after you have done your due diligence. If you don't work hard, then it is very hard to practice.
Hmm. Okay. My last question then. Advices for the budding homeopaths and those who are listening, those who are watching this, and for me as well.
I'll say you learn to love homeopathy. Learn to respect homeopathy. अभी मैं क्या देखता हूँ कि होम्योपैथ्स टेंड टू गो टू एलोपैथिक हॉस्पिटल्स कि हमको नाइट ड्यूटीज करते हैं. मेरे बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स करते हैं. क्यों करते हैं कि वो somehow they feel that science is superior. Try to understand, अगर आप अपनी रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करोगे तो दूसरे आपकी रिस्पेक्ट क्यों करेंगे? अगर आप अपने सिस्टम के लिए कॉन्फिडेंट नहीं हो तो दूसरे आपके सिस्टम के लिए कॉन्फिडेंट कैसे होंगे? अगर आप अपने सिस्टम से प्यार नहीं करते तो दूसरे आपसे कैसे इंप्रेस होंगे? अगर आप किसी एलोपैथिक हॉस्पिटल में जाकर नाइट ड्यूटीज करने को तैयार हो, आप मेडिकल ऑफिसर के नाम पे आप वहां पे अपना रजिस्ट्री कराने को तैयार हो, आप रिसर्च असिस्टेंट के तौर पे अपना नाम एंट्री कराने को तैयार, और बड़े खुश होते हैं कि हमारी आईसीयू में ड्यूटी लगती है. अरे पर हो क्या तुम? यू आर नॉट इवन ऑन द रोल्स ऑफ द हॉस्पिटल ऑफिशियली एज अ डॉक्टर. दे आर शोइंग यू एज व्हाट, रिसर्च असिस्टेंट्स और मेडिकल असिस्टेंट्स. सो इतनी जितनी मेहनत एलोपैथिक हॉस्पिटल्स में कर रहे हो उतनी मेहनत अगर अपने खुद की क्लिनिक पे कर लो. होम्योपैथी से नाम, पैसा, शोहरत सब मिलता है,
Hmm.
पर होम्योपैथी पूछती है कि तुमने मुझे क्या दिया जो मैं तुम्हें कुछ दूं. होम्योपैथी को ब्लेम करने से पहले ना कि व्हाट हैज होम्योपैथी गिवन मी, आस्क योरसेल्फ व्हाट हैव यू गिवन टू होम्योपैथी. Have you given your time? Have you given your passion? Have you given your love? Have you given your affection? Have you given your hard work to homeopathy? अरे कुछ नहीं दिया होम्योपैथी को तो फिर होम्योपैथी ऐसे एक्सपेक्ट कैसे कर सकते? होम्योपैथी को दो ना, और होम्योपैथी फिर इतना देगी कि तुम सोच नहीं सकते. सोच नहीं सकते. मार्केट खाली पड़ा है अच्छे होम्योपैथ्स के लिए. होम्योपैथ्स बहुत है,
Hmm.
पर अच्छे होम्योपैथ्स नहीं है आज भी, खाली पड़ा है, इट्स एन एम्प्टी फील्ड. Go out and do wonders with your patients, practice good homeopathy, and see then you will see even allopathic doctors giving you a lot of respect. Today in my practice, most of my friends are allopathic doctors. वो अपने फेल्ड केसेस भेजते हैं मेरे को, जहां अटकते हैं वो भेजते हैं. जो गैस्ट्रोएंट्रोलॉजिस्ट है वो अपने बच्चे की दवाई मेरे से पूछता है जब उसका पेट खराब होता है. जो पेडियाट्रिशियन है वो अपने बच्चे की दवाई मेरे से पूछता है. जो ईएनटी डॉक्टर है वो अपने वाइफ का साइनसाइटिस मेरे से ठीक कराने आता है. क्यों भाई? वो गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट है वो अपनी कंप्लेंट्स लेके हमारे पास आती है. क्यों आती है? इवन दे रिस्पेक्ट यू if you are worthy of respect. Allopaths never look down upon homeopaths. They never look down upon good homeopaths.
Yeah.
If you are not a good homeopath, then you do not deserve respect. Now, allopath तो छोड़ दो, किसी की भी respect deserve नहीं करते. मैं तो साफ कहता हूं, जिस सिस्टम के तुम हो, अगर उस सिस्टम के होके भी उस सिस्टम के नहीं हुए तो किसी और सिस्टम के क्या हो जाओगे. तो मेहनत करो, खूब सारी मेहनत करो, मेहनत से मत घबराओ. डोंट बी अफ्रेड ऑफ हार्ड वर्क. गिव लॉट ऑफ टाइम टू योर सिस्टम. एक एक मरीज पे मेहनत करो. और बहुत सारे वेरिएबल्स होते हैं, हम फिर कभी एक और लाइव कर सकते हैं कभी, कि क्लिनिक कैसे चलानी चाहिए. देखो क्लिनिक एक बिजनेस भी है.
Yeah.
तो वो बिजनेस कैसे ऑपरेट करना है उसके लिए अलग स्किल्स चाहिए होती हैं, वो भी आनी चाहिए. पर वो बिजनेस तभी चलेगा, उसके लिए हम फिर कभी एक और वेबिनार
Sure.
कर लेंगे. दैट इज ओके. बट वो बिजनेस तभी चलेगा तुम्हारा जब उसमें जो प्रोडक्ट दे रहे हो उस बिजनेस में वो अच्छा होगा. मिठाई की दुकान कितनी ही सुंदर खोल लो, कितनी ही प्राइम लोकेशन पे खोल लो, एक बार तो मरीज आ जाए, एक बार तो ग्राहक आ जाएगा. लेकिन अगर मिठाई अच्छी नहीं होगी तो वापस आएगा?
No.
रेफरल भेजेगा? नहीं. सिमिलरली तुम कितनी ही अच्छी क्लिनिक खोल लो, कितने ही पैम्पलेट बंटवा लो, कितनी ही मार्केटिंग कर लो, एक बार पेशेंट आ जाएगा. बट अगर उसको ठीक नहीं कर पाए, अगर उसको रिजल्ट अच्छा नहीं दिया तो वापस नहीं आएगा, रेफरल्स नहीं आएंगे. तो उसके लिए जो प्रोडक्ट है वो अच्छा होना जरूरी है. तो पहले एक अच्छा प्रोडक्ट बनो, एक अच्छे होम्योपैथ बनो, एक ऐसा होम्योपैथ बनो जिसमें से पैशन टपके होम्योपैथी के लिए. इजी, हाँ, स्पीकिंग इजी. दीपमाला, बोलना बहुत आसान है. मैं तो कह ही नहीं रहा कि बोलना कि करना आसान है. मैंने कब कहा कि करना आसान है? बिल्कुल आसान नहीं है. मैं तो कह रहा हूं कि करना आसान नहीं है, पर मेहनत करोगे तो होगा. नामुमकिन नहीं है, मैं ये कह रहा हूं. मेहनत एफर्ट ही नहीं करोगे तो कैसे होगा? फेलियर से घबराओगे तो नहीं होगा. फेलियर मिलता
Hmm.
है. मैं तुम्हारे को बताता हूं, मेरी क्लिनिक, मैंने 5 साल एक छोटी सी क्लिनिक पे प्रैक्टिस करी. इतनी डिफिकल्ट प्रैक्टिस जहां पे मैं अटका हुआ था कि नहीं क्लासिकल होम्योपैथी करनी है. शायद मैं पहले महीने में 6,000 रुपए कमाता था. 5 साल बाद जब क्लिनिक छोड़ी तो 12,000 रुपए कमाता था. दिन के 5-7 मरीज ही आते थे. ऐसा नहीं कि आज मैं राजस्थान का सबसे बड़ा सेंटर चलाता हूं, इंडिया के सबसे फेमस होम्योपैथ्स में से हूं, और हर तरह की, मैं पूरे वर्ल्ड में मेरे पेशेंट्स हैं. तो दिस सक्सेस इज नॉट कम इजी. व्हेन आई वाज अ यंग होम्योपैथ आई यूज्ड टू वर्क 16 आवर्स अ डे. मैं क्लिनिक भी करता था, मैं कॉलेज में पढ़ाता भी था, राइट फ्रॉम माई वेरी बिगनिंग. मैं एचपैथी पे भी काम करता था, मैं आर्टिकल्स भी लिखता था, मैं उस वक्त बहुत सारी किताबें भी पढ़ता था. पर नहीं करेंगे तो नहीं होगा ना. और सक्सेस नहीं आती. देर इज नो शॉर्टकट टू सक्सेस. बट इफ यू आर हेल बेंट की नहीं, आई वॉन्ट टू सक्सीड, देन देर इज नो पावर इन दिस यूनिवर्स दैट कैन स्टॉप यू फ्रॉम सक्सीडिंग. I'm telling you, Deepmala, this is what I have gone through,
Yeah.
what you are going through. बट करोगे तो हो जाएगा. अगर करोगे ही नहीं तो कैसे होगा? बाबा रामदेव कहते हैं करने से होता है. करोगे ही नहीं तो कैसे होगा?
As all people are commenting, of course, this is something I want to take away from this session that of course, बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें हैं जो हम नहीं कर रहे हैं. The effort matters, which I have learned specifically is that the effort matters. The continuous efforts है तो of course I will get a result out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else you want to suggest, sir? Become straight. Okay. Thank you.
I think I've said a lot. I'm
Yeah.
usually a man of few words. So
And I'm really sorry I went little off track, but it was just with the flow.
that's okay. That's okay. If it is within my reign to answer some questions, I'm not
Hmm.
um hesitant to answer them.
See, there are a lot of comments here, and I don't think I can read out all the comments. But yeah, it is for the things which you have told, like the hard work and the efforts. And of course, I am being motivated a lot. All the people watching this, they are going to motivate a lot. And of course, I think not just for today, you should take it for the lifetime, not for today
Yes,
only.
yes. A mantra is not for a day. It doesn't work if you
Yes.
take it for a day.
Yes, sir. Okay, so thank you so much, sir. It was a sheer pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to have another session on some other topic as well, because I think we still have, and I still have so many things to learn from you. I really want to have.
It has
So
been
that
my
other people
pleasure.
can also listen and I can get my benefit also.
It has been my pleasure to share my thoughts and my feelings with all of you. And I hope you all have enjoyed. Do share your comments, your
Yes,
feedback in the comments. And I'll be happy to do more these Insta lives for your channel and for any other place. I just love to teach and share. And if
yes, sir.
my little time that I'm spending here, if it can motivate even two people, that's success for me. If I
Of course,
can, if I can teach a little bit about how to practice right homeopathy,
yeah,
because there are what nearly 4 lakh homeopaths in India. I cannot go out individually to each of them. But these digital
yes,
media are such good media that a lot of people can be reached through them. And if I can share my knowledge and my experience and my journey through these channels and can help some other students, because in my class in the college there will be only 100 students. Here we have 100,000 students. We have the option of
yeah.
100,000. So I'm happy to be here with you.
Of course, sir. I'm really hoping for the next session. And thank you so much. It's a great pleasure and I enjoyed a lot. And I had an amazing conversation. And of course, something which I have forgotten, it just reminded me, oh, I was making some mistake in some of the cases. Now I can go back and do something with those cases where I was just missing. Thank you for reminding me that.
All right. Thank you. And good night to all of you.
Yes, sir. With that note, we can finish this. What's your mantra, Insta Live? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me today. Bye, everyone.